So my name is Pro Saseth. So I've been with BBSI 17 years now.
You were 5 when you came to us, right?
Yeah. So I play a little bit of golf. I'm not good, but I play. So after I got to ride some side-by-side with Ken and with the family yesterday, played 18 holes at Copper Rock, and my back is killing me. I feel 30 years older than I did today, but it was an awesome time. But yeah, so BBSI, we work with companies and support them in a lot of things like payroll, human resources, risk and safety, workers' comp. Troy's going to touch on the strategic consulting and planning that we do with our clients. But we service clients from our average clients have about 20, 30 employees, but we work with companies with 5 employees to over 200 employees as well. We have 3 offices in Utah, one in Orem, one in Sandy, one downtown in Salt Lake, but we service clients from Logan all the way down here in St. George, Dale to Vernal, Moab. So we go wherever business is and where they need that support and help. That's really what we love to do, is just help business owners free up their time. If they're involved in those things, we take those things off their plate so you can focus back on your business and what you do well. It's usually, I'm pretty sure none of you guys went into business to deal with payroll and HR and employee issues and this kind of stuff. So we take that off your plate so you can focus on the business. We have a booth in the convention hall, so come by and talk to me. We can talk more about this stuff. Troy's going to focus more on the strategic things like that. We're doing a giveaway for some Bose headphones, so come by, drop your business card, come chat with me, and enjoy your day.
All right, thank you. All right, and I'm Troy Smithson. I've been with the company for 16 years, not as long as Pro here. However, 13 of the years I was a client. I sat in your seat. I own some ServiceMaster Restore franchises. Being that you're plumbers, you probably know what those guys are. ServiceMaster, ServPro, all the different companies out there. I had 5 of those companies, and ServiceMaster helped me, or BBSI helped me grow those companies from a little mom and pop to having 5 of those and a couple of retail companies. And after selling those, I decided I'm too young to retire, and my wife wanted to get me out of the house. Decided to go to work for this company because they help me, and I love helping businesses. Today, we're going to go through kind of a journey. We're going to have some fun. We're kind of an untraditional payroll company. A lot of payroll companies don't get involved with their customers the way we do, and this isn't a commercial for that, but it's just to give you an idea of kind of what we're going to go through today. When we bring a client on, we usually do what we call a deep dive with that client. We go through their business. And if you read kind of the little write-up spiel about today's training, it talked about the 6 pillars of business, or 6 principles of business that we're going to be going through today that either make or break a company. Now, can you all hear me okay? There is a mic, but am I loud enough? Good. I hate holding a mic. I might start breaking out in karaoke. You don't want that. So, so we're going to talk about 6 different principles or pillars in business and how it affects you and how it affects your business plans. And kind of building a strategic living business plan. How many people are here have a business plan? Have written one? Okay. That's actually more than I usually see in a lot of groups when I'm talking to them. Because how did we get in business? Okay. You got in business by working for a couple other companies, going through high school, and ended up saying, hey, I could do this on my own, right? Right. Was it fun?
It's been a journey.
It's been a journey, right? All right, so we're going to go on a journey today. We're going to have some fun out of it a little bit. I've talked to a couple of you guys last night, and it's interesting. I told this individual I'm not going to pick on him, but his name rhymes with Chris. No, I'm messing with you.
Somehow he ends up in the front.
And he ends up in the front of the room, right? But in talking last night over dinner, just kind of interesting is that if it's okay if I share a little bit of that. Is that all right?
Well, I did my competitors, so I don't know. Yeah.
Okay, all right. I'm not going to share too much. But basically, how did we all get into this business? It was a little bit different, right? And in talking to you, it's because you got tired of getting laid off, right? You work for a year and a half, and oops, that job's gone. Then you're out looking, right? Union contractor or tradesman, right? And get hired by somebody else, that's gone. And what did you finally do?
I got to a point where I was unemployed again, and it was like, so I went back to the customer that we were working with and said, listen, we've got guys sitting, if you've got any work, I said, man, we would love to have you, but we do not want the contractor you were working for. I said, well, I'll see you in 2 months. So I went and got my contractor's license because I needed a job. And so it was just my efforts going out and saying, hey, worked with you over here for 3 years. What are we doing?
Yep. So there's all sorts of ways we get into this business. Others, second, third generation, right? Who's the third generation, right? Right? Are you working on a fourth generation?
He's 12, right?
He's 12. Okay, there's potential. There's potential, right? There's cleanup on jobs that can be done, right? You know.
Third generation here and fourth generation here.
I love it. That's fantastic. So there's a lot of different ways, and if you go back to the roots of the company, it's interesting. We all have our own stories. We all have a reason. There was something that drove us to make a change. There was at a point in time where we made an inflection. We said, okay, that's enough. I'm tired of working for my dad. I'm doing it myself. Or I'm tired of getting laid off. Or it's, you know what, I could do this product a little bit better, and we went out and started something. We took that risk and we jumped into this thing called being an entrepreneur, right, and being a business owner. And you've all heard it, we're the only people crazy enough to work 80 hours a week so that we don't have to punch a time clock, right? You know? Sound familiar? At different stages in your business, right? You know? So we hit this point of an inflection. Now we're going to talk today about, I'm going to define a couple things for our journey that we're taking so that we're all kind of on the same plane, okay? And one of those is going to be inflection points. We're going to be talking about that quite a bit, actually. So I think I'll draw that over here. Let me grab a pen. We're going to use what we call an inflection curve to discuss these 6 pillars today and where you're at on this and where maybe you might want to be. Now, that's a pretty simple little curve here. I've got 4 numbers, 1, 2, 3, 4. When you first started your business, when you decided to get that license, Chris, right? When you decided to marry into the family that you married into, right? And start working for the business, or maybe it was the other way around, I don't know. But something happened, where we said, okay, I'm going to invest a little bit. You said it took you about 2 months to get your license, right? Good. Was it really just 2 months?
There was a lot to it before.
Bingo. You'd done a lot of work before, okay? And so remember that, and all of you have done a lot of work on things in the past, but at that point, when you hit that inflection point where you said enough's enough, I'm going to do something different, I'm going to go talk to these guys and start building a business, we had something called an idea. That idea is simple to take over the world with. If you're good at Excel, man, you can make that Excel sheet really give a lot of money, make it look like your plans are going to go through the roof, right? You haven't had any time with it yet, it's just the ideas, okay? I talked to another gentleman that had developed a water softener, right? Great idea. In the beginning, did you think it would take over the world?
Yeah, I did.
And it kind of did, didn't it?
Well, it did really.
Took over your world, right?
Yeah.
Did it do it on its own?
It kind of did.
Okay. But you had to do something in the beginning, didn't you?
A lot of plumbers helped me, you know.
A lot of plumbers helped you. And you had to invest some time, some effort. You had to put your idea out there in front of people, right? Well, that's what the time equation is. And as time comes, we start seeing a different change in your business. Things start moving. You had that one day that you actually sold the system. How'd that feel? That's amazing. Right. Chris, that first time you got a job and you got paid, how did that feel?
Actually, the first job that I had done, I was removing some cooling tower water pipe out of the ceiling, and to put in some bigger size and what have you. Up there with my pipe wrench, and on top of an extension ladder, I'm 20 feet in the air. I pulled down on this thing, and I hear this air, and I was like, and I pulled down again, and it broke the fire sprinkler riser off the head. And then, oh my heavens, so my first job, I did not get paid.
Okay. So your second job. Your second job.
It was filled with air, and it
Woo!
came, and oh my heavens.
Oh boy, that's a fun one. That's some fun water that comes out of those pipes, isn't it? So your second job. How did that feel when you got your first, let me just put it this way. When you got your first paycheck and you were able to actually make a payment on something with money you earned in your business, how did that feel?
You know, it was never, for me, it was never about the money and never about the growth. It was about, I did this, and it's always been about plumbing. I can look at it and say, I built that. And there's a pride that comes with that at the end of the day. And that was, hey, I did this, and I did it on my own. And that was more for me than the money was.
Bingo. That was awesome. Is everything always about the money? Not always, right? So your pay, your reward sometimes comes in other ways.
Gratification. Just like all you guys, we could drive around Salt Lake or St. George and point, I plumb that, I plumb that, I plumb that.
Right.
Pretty neat feeling, huh?
I was actually interviewing one of our apprentices the other day, and he mentioned that very thing. That's why he was happy it was there. He says, it's so nice to stand back and look and say, I did that. You know, and he expressed that to me, it was pretty cool.
That's awesome. You know what? When employees get that vision, it's pretty neat too, huh? You know, I talked to a concrete company the other day, and we went through kind of this process, this journey, a deep dive journey through business. And it was interesting in the beginning of it. It's like, what do you guys do for a living? Well, we pour slabs. Okay, all right. By the end of our discussions, they kind of came up with a different idea, which is, you know what we really do? We're building cities. We're building communities. Okay, what I'm hearing here, and that's why I'm bringing that up, it feels like that. It's like, I built that building. Okay, you know, there's some pride in that. There's some really good feelings you get from that. I used to love driving around anywhere in San Bernardino County, and there's not a street that I haven't done a flood or a fire or something in. I used to have a board that we have to replace every couple of years because we put pins in it. Okay, that's back before we were using computers as much. Big old map. We'd have to replace that thing every couple of years because there's too many holes, right? But every single street I've done something on, right? How many people here in their area have probably fixed a toilet, plumbed something, put in a water softener almost every single street? You drive around, you see those homes, you see those businesses, you're proud of them. You see a building like this and you think, you know what, I did that work. That's my building, right? Part of that infrastructure is mine. I helped build that, right? We're here today because plumbers came in and did a lot here to this building so we can enjoy it today, right? The HVAC is working today. Actually, it's really nice. It was warm. I took off my jacket. Usually I'm freezing in these type of places, right? You know, so I'm very thankful for the HVAC companies that built that, right? So
The general comes and says, you can't use that toilet in the building. You gotta go out there and use that. Listen, you haven't paid me for that toilet. I'm using it.
there you go. There you go.
Mine.
All right, so on this inflection point, I think we all agree it's pretty fun when you start getting paid or rewarded or you start seeing something for what you've done. Now, after a certain amount of time, if you started out just putting toilets in buildings and that's all you did, can somebody else come in and take your lunch? They can. Do you install a toilet that much better than you do? You never know. You might, right? You know. However, eventually we have this thing, the product life cycle, or whether it's in one of these pillars we're going to talk about in a minute that I have written up over here, that we get to this easy cruising place. Okay, just kind of a plateau that we hit. Okay, usually at the plateaus is, hey, we're making pretty good money. I've got my employees. It might be 5 employees. It might be 50 employees. You know, it might be 100 employees. Wherever you're comfortable at. You've all had plateaus over the years, I imagine. But things just kind of seem to run. They're okay. I'm not worried about too much on my marketing side because you know what? I've got enough business. I'm good, right? Everything's good. So that plateau is just everything seems to be kind of smooth sailing. The problem with that is what comes after a plateau? A decline. And on the decline, where's that heading? It's a direction you don't want to be. And so as we're going to be discussing these 6 pillars or you know, within a business here, we're going to look at this inflection curve, and I'd like you to give some good thoughts as we do this as to where you're currently at and where you've been. So I'm just going to put this over here. We may be referencing this just a little bit. So over time, what we see is these curves happen over and over again. And I'm going to draw a picture and think for a minute if this represents you or a company you worked for or your dad's company when it was his or maybe life in general. We start something and over a few years, this might be 20, 30 years, who was around working in the 80s? Did we have a downturn in the 80s? Anybody experience that?
About 7 years.
Whew, pretty tough. Okay, what about, I don't know, 2009, right? Anybody have fun in 2009? Whew, that was a tough one, right? There's other things that affect our businesses as well. Sometimes it's the economy, you know. Other times it could be your employees, it could be a partner, it could be a major change that happens within that. You know, there's a lot of things that can change your business. Now, what happens is, we started, remember back over here, we started with this number one. We started with, hey, we're going to take over the world. This idea is the new best thing. And we started feeling that really good momentum and everything else. How much energy did that take? How much risk? I'm seeing a lot of heads going, yeah, dang straight, that was a lot of risk. Yep. I wonder how you got through it sometimes,
No
huh?
matter what, there's always risk, even if you
There is.
made it.
I-
There's still a risk.
And I think that's what, as owners, you realize. Sometimes when companies pass down, they don't understand what it took to build. You realize those breaking points.
Right.
And where,
Yep.
well, I don't want to go back there. We're not doing that.
We're the only ones that know what it's like to sleep like a baby. Now, all of you sleep like a baby, don't you? Waking up crying every 2 hours? Right? We've all been there. Payroll's due on Friday. It's Thursday night. You just hope that auto deposit hits the account, right? We've all been there, I think, at one point or another. It's a tough situation. Well, in our business, these are the ups and downs that happen, and they happen in our people, our products, our pipeline, our processes, our finance, and our culture. Those six areas kind of encompass almost everything that we deal with within our business. A lot of things have multiple buckets that they reside in, and we're going to kind of pick these apart today as we go through this journey. What's interesting, though, is, and the reason I've drawn this out here, is that we can go through this cycle in our business in all of these areas. Some might still be high, some might be low, but your businesses have had those ebbs and flows. What did it take as energy? When you hit here, I kind of call this was my $1 day. Does anybody know what a $1 day is? It might be. It might be, I'll sell you everything I got for $1. In fact, actually, here's $1. Would you take it? We ever had those days? Anybody here ever had a $1 day? Maybe figuratively, right? You know, hopefully not realistically. But that can be drawn usually by that really not fun employee or that customer. Anybody have a customer that ever gives you a $1 a day, right? You know, things can happen in your business. And when they all stack up, we get to this $1 a day, and we like to avoid that. So if you take a look at this, and let's just say, we're going to talk a little bit, let's just say if this was, just to give a little example here, let's say this is your break-even point financially in your business, that nut to crack every month you have to hit. Hopefully you all know what that is. We find that maybe 25% of business owners know that. They actually know at the beginning of the month, if I hit X, I cover everything. After that, I start making profit. My planned profit point's here, right? And that's where I'm happy. So everything above that, I'm really happy, right? You know, and if you know those numbers, it really helps. But let's just say this is your break-even point in your business. Typically what ends up happening is we get down below where you just dipped into your private money to pay payroll, right? I've had to dip into my retirement a couple times to make a payroll. Bad quarters, bad years, not a fun situation to do. What do we typically think when we're down in that spot? Next quarter will be better. Anybody ever said that to their spouse, to their partner? Hey, we'll make it up next month. Bad month. Dang it, we lost money. But it's okay. We got good jobs coming in. We'll make it up next month. Has anybody ever done that? I have. Pretty common thought process. Here's the question. Next month when it came, or next year, quarter, or whatever it happens to be, did you ever get this money back? What do you think of there? Do you ever get that money back? Or that energy?
Rarely.
No. You actually never can. That money's gone. It's lost. You earn new money because you did something different in your business. You hit what we call a forced inflection point. Kind of like when you started that business. Something forced you into making that change. Now, is that an easy place to make that change? Oh, I know, I'm going to hire 3 new people. One of them's going to be a marketer, and I'm going to do some pay-per-click advertising. I'm going to get new vehicles. Oh, wait a minute, you're out of money. Is that an easy place to do that? No, it's not. It's the hardest place, but somehow we do it. A lot of us have been through that, you know. And the success of that brings us up to a better place until we start on the same curve again of getting complacent and letting things drop. And over about a 20-year period, we've ridden this roller coaster and we're kind of tired of it. Now, a lot of times I'll deal with business owners. They're about here and they're thinking, I've got 3 or 4 years left, maybe 5 years left. I might pass it to my kids. I might sell it to one of my business, you know, to one of my guys. I might find one of you here to buy my business, see if you're interested, right? What's my business worth? Is it just me? I had that discussion with a couple people yesterday. You know, or do I have an actual business that's worth something, right? Well, when you sell your business, where do you want to be on this curve? On a 1, 2, or 3, 4, where do you think is the best place to sell your business? Hearing a lot of numbers. Typically, somewhere between this 2 and this 3. And that's because you're making money, you're attractive to financiers. So if you sell it, someone can actually get a loan to get you paid instead of just hoping that they're going to keep it going and make the payments, right? That's one of the best places. It's also one of the best places to have an inflection, to re-lever your business. Because if instead of waiting until you're down here and you've lost energy and everything else, if you're looking somewhere around that, between that 2 and that 3 to make these changes, you're going to take about half the amount of energy, move these things a lot closer, and grow your business in a way without that loss. Kind of makes sense? Resonate a little bit? Now, if you do this every single time, I think we'd be sitting at a table with Warren Buffett and Elon Musk and a few other people, right? We can't hit this every single time, but there are some things you could do to look ahead. And so that's kind of where we're going to take this journey today as we talk about these different areas. So as we go through this list, and as I said, there's a lot of areas and things that'll probably hit a couple different buckets. But let me ask a question out there. Right now, what's a struggle within your business that you're currently having? Employees. Gosh, anybody have a problem with them finding? Now, is that finding employees or employees, period? Finding and issues with employees? Okay. So that could be in the people area, right? What do you think affects that? Let's pick apart one of those. Let's take a look at employee. Let's say you have enough employees, but it's the employees you have, right? What's going on with them? Let's do a little bit of a, I think I'll use this here. Try to put this in a place you all can see it better. So a pretty easy exercise that we do with a lot of our clients, and we ask them to do this quarterly, at least. But it's a basic ABC player. You've probably all seen different versions of this over the years. And I ask some people, and they say, well, where's the F category, right, for a failure, right? No, but a little bit different. When you take a look at your employees, and be honest and put yourself in this equation too, because we also are part of this equation of your business, right? As we're looking at people, where do they sit? So I'm going to say, let's say that we have an employee named, let's just call him Chip. Chip is a C player. C players typically, the way I usually define these, is a C player deflects. They don't take any ownership. They don't take any responsibility. If there's a problem, they're always somewhere else. They may have caused it, but they're not quite there, right? That's something that we run into a lot. But they always deflect the issues. They don't want to really do what you want them to do. They're going to do it their way instead of your way. Has anybody ever had an employee like this? Yeah.
So I've got, when I do payroll, I divide it up into the jobs.
Uh-huh.
And I catch myself every time. This is my most important guy, this is my next, this is my next. It's like every 2 weeks I'm looking at the names going, I put this guy in the C category, and that's how I stack up my payroll to go out to the jobs, and I do it.
Yep.
I do it all the time. I catch myself doing it. It's like, hold it, you know? It's just a name. Let's do it alphabetically. Like, no.
It happens.
By importance to the job, to the company.
Another good definition of Chip, okay, a C player, he's the guy that I say, hey, you're going out today, you got 3 installs of hot water heaters, you're going to need some help. You got a busy day. Can you take Chip with you? And what does your technician say?
They don't want to take them.
I'll just do it by myself, boss.
Right, they do.
Really? I'd rather just not have them. I'm good, you know? Right? We all have that individual in our business, right?
We just had that happen yesterday.
Yep. That's very common, you know? And let me ask, why do you have Chip? Why do you have Chip there?
They have a pulse.
They have a pulse. They breathe. They pass the fog test. Fog test is you hold up a mirror, hey, you're hired, right? There are some times where it's so hard to find people, and you figure, well, they're better than nothing because at least they can move stuff back and forth.
But you know what you have.
You do know what you have.
When you hire somebody new, you do not know what you have.
That's true.
If you can deal with this guy and you deal with his problems, you can get something out of it.
Yep. You can. And by the way, how many of us have had Chips on our payroll for a long time?
We just did payroll increases.
I got rid of a couple of chips though,
Okay?
and didn't notice any difference. So I figured if all I need is a pulse or bodies, it would be cheaper for my company to have cardboard cutouts.
True fact. True fact. Okay. Now I'm going to say something that may hit close to home, pun intended. Sometimes Chip, he was my oldest son. Now his name's not Chip, but he was my oldest son. Now I tease him about this. If he's here, it'd be fine, you know. So I'm not talking behind his back, and I'm recorded, so I might really be in trouble here if he ever sees this. No, but what I'm saying about it, he didn't really want to work for me. But by default, I was the easiest place to work. And I got it. You know, I'm not the best person to work for, especially for a family member. I get that. But he just didn't love what he did. And so what did I do? Okay, well, if you're not really good out here, let me move you over here to, let's try to work you on our flood team. Okay, how about the fire team? How about contents? I got an idea. Why don't you work in the office and answer the phones? Why don't you start doing a little bit of the estimating and coordinating with insurance companies, right?
Could be the worst part. That's your
Now,
first line of defense.
right, technically, he was good. He was really good at that stuff. But did he love talking to those people? No, he didn't. He could put on a good face, but did he really thrive in that position? No. And did I do him any favors? No, I didn't. And it wasn't until he moved on to another career completely that he started excelling and enjoying what he did instead of hating this stupid company that I work for, right? You know? Sometimes Chip is one of our kids. It's a cousin. It's an uncle. It's a nephew. It's a niece. It's a kid from church that you hired, but you feel obligated because you know their dad's a good friend, right? One thing, and I don't remember who it was this morning. I was talking to one of you, and I just mentioned. I said one of the rules we always had in our business is, and this came from my dad. He told me, he says, Troy, he says, don't ever be afraid to get a job because of who you know. There's nothing wrong with that. But just don't ever keep it because of who you know. And so that discussion is the discussion we had with a lot of people when we hired them. Hey, I'll give you a shot. Kid just came off a mission. Not sure what he's going to do yet. I don't know if I want to go to school or what I want to be. Why don't you come work for me? You know, I'll give you a shot. But hey, here's a rule we have. You know, and go down that road with them. Made it a lot easier to move them on to be successful somewhere else if I had to, right? And so just looking at some of those things. So that's Chip. I think we all understand where Chip is. Now a B player, now they're deflectors, right? A B player, they're acceptors. B player's satisfactory employee. Hey, I've got 3 hot water heaters I need taken care of today. And while you're out at Mrs. Jones' house, can you talk to her? She mentioned she doesn't, you know, that they have some water pressure issues. Can you put a pressure tank in? Or can you do, and I'm going to talk a little bit outside. You guys know what you're talking about. I don't when it comes to plumbing, okay? That's why I subbed out all my plumbing to other people. So, but we'll call this Barb. Okay? So Barb, she's a great technician. She goes out there, she installs hot water heaters, but all she's going to do is do exactly what she's told. When she's out there and she happens to see a sink dripping, does she offer her services to fix that? No, I was here to do a hot water heater. I'm an implementer, this is what I do, right? You can,
Now that's all the time we have anyway.
and that's all the time I have anyway, right? Yeah, no, I get it, because you got to schedule your guys and gals out there pretty good. Now, Barb's a good employee. They accept everything that you want them to do and they get it done. They don't bring solutions to the table, but they do a really good amount of work. Who out here has a Barb? Okay, a lot more hands, good. We need those B players. Okay, on the A side, those, again, we have deflectors, we have acceptors. On the A's, those are kind of more like my seekers, okay? Those are the ones that look for those extra opportunities while they're out there. You know, they're the ones that are out there saying, hey, Gary, you know, I'm replacing your hot water heater. I noticed you got a lot of calcium built up in your pipes. I know you've got a few other things going on here. Have you ever thought about a soft water system? Everybody's thought about a soft water system. They're not going to tell you, right? But they've thought about it. Or you're looking at there saying, you know, it doesn't look like it's ran for the last couple of years, right?
Right.
How would you like me to figure out something on that? We might be able to get that fixed for you, or it might be better just to get a new system. There's better systems out there today, right? And then, so we'll call this, I'll just use Alan, okay? Okay. So Alan, he's gonna go out there and he's gonna fix what he went out there to do, and he's gonna find 2 or 3 other things. What are some other things that Alan can do that can help your business? Could he, hey, I'm installing this hot water heater. You know, if you want this to last better than the last one, we really should be coming out and doing your annual maintenance. Can I get that on the schedule? It's kind of like you get your teeth cleaned once a year. If you have us come out and take care of this, it's going to really save you money. It's more efficient because you don't have all that sediment in the bottom. It's not going to rust out as quick. It's going to maintain it, and it's going to keep your warranty in effect. Can I schedule you out for this next year? We'll call before it to make sure you're actually going to be home. But can I put down right? And then what are you doing? You're building that cadence of work that can come in. Alan's that kind of person that's going to look for that. Who here has an Alan? Okay, got some good hands. All right, as you look at these things and you look at your business, if you were twice the size, 3 times the size over the next 6 months, you did some things to grow. Is Chip going to turn into a B because he has more work? No. No. It's hard to move a C to a B. I've seen it. It's usually because Chip was in the wrong place. Has anybody had somebody that was in the wrong position, moved into another position and they excelled? Yeah, I heard a lot of yeps. So is Chip so defective we just want to kick them out? No, we want to look at those issues with people, right? And see, are they in the right place? Have we given them the right training? Are we giving them the right support?
Sometimes we create the chip by putting a B in a C spot.
Bingo. Yes.
Sometimes you're working for Chip and your name's Alan, and so you go start your own business.
Yes. That does happen. It's hard to move C's to a B, almost impossible to move a C to an A. So when we look at that C position, as you're going through, as you're doing your payroll, as you said, and you're kind of putting them in that bucket, that's where you're looking is what am I doing to move them up? Or what's my plan to document and maybe move them out to put somebody in that spot that can actually grow your business? The other thing is that this guy you're paying 20 bucks an hour and he's losing you 10. This guy you're paying 20 bucks an hour or gal, and they're making you $20 an hour. They're doing what you expect. This one you're paying 20 or even 30 bucks an hour and they're making you 60 an hour. Who do you want more on your team? You want the A players, right? And as you grow, if you don't put the right things in place to keep these employees on the right path between their training, their certifications, the culture in your business, some of these other things we're going to get into, an A can definitely turn to a B. If they start seeing that you've got Chip here paying about the same and giving him all the same stuff that you're giving this guy, why should I work harder? Has anybody ever came to you and said, well, gosh, they're not working hard, why should I? Have you ever had that feeling that goes on? Oh yeah, happens a lot. So looking at your business, that's why kind of putting a living plan together, right? A living, breathing document or plan as you're working on your business here is always looking, are my A's pulling up my B's and C's, or my B's and C's pulling down my A's? And what's that going to mean in my business? That's one of the biggest areas with people when you start looking at. Now, what can make a person not love their job? Does anybody here have employees that don't love their job? Yep. Why?
Could be who they're working with.
Who they're working with. Okay. What would that look like?
I don't know, just if they're working with somebody that's not motivated and doing what they're supposed to do.
Okay.
They can get a bad attitude and the I don't care.
The I don't care syndrome that gets contagious, yeah.
Or don't have patience for them, I guess, because
Okay.
they don't know what they're doing, or they keep screwing up, or not focusing.
Yep.
Thinking young with old doesn't always work. We got the different, completely different generations. We got the kids that need that pat on the back, that, yay, you put your boots on this morning. The old guys are like, you should have just done it already. You shouldn't, you know.
Right.
Get recognition for that. Good for you, you know, get back to work now. Yeah, exactly.
So
Back in my days, you know, those don't get along.
They don't always, right? And it's a good thing that all of us are just perfect communicators, right?
Sometimes it's burnout.
Burnout.
We were just talking this morning, it's like, you're out on the job and every time it comes time to do the plumbing in the wall, there is no time left on the schedule for the plumbing to go in the wall. And you're always just boom, 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 crash and burn, and the guys, even the good guys, I mean, just get to the point where it's like, can't deal with this anymore.
Yep. So your guys can actually move them up or down. How about you as an owner? Do we have any effect on how our employees feel?
You bet.
How so? I heard a yes back here, I think.
We help create the culture in our company.
We do. If we don't, who will? Chip. Exactly. Yeah, and do you want Chip creating that culture? No. No, you don't. So culture, kind of interesting as we start looking at these pillars, how they're all related. The culture definitely has a lot to do with your people, how you develop them, how you grow them. So a good question to ask yourselves is, if a reporter right now was to write an article about your company, about what you guys mean as a company, what you do, what would that look like? Think about that for a minute. And they just interviewed your best customer. What do you think? Anybody want to volunteer what that might look like? We won't poke too much fun at you. I'll volunteer one. I'm a payroll company. My best customer would probably say, wow, my team at BBSI knows me. They know what we do. They sit down with us. They spend 4 hours at a time with us sometimes in a room and whiteboard the heck out of our business and help us understand it. They do much more than process payroll, right? I know what that story sounds like because I hear that, I get that. Does anybody here get good attaboys from their clients from time to time? Feels good, doesn't it?
Well,
Okay.
today we have the struggle with Google and reviews that we have to deal with.
Well, and I was just going to go there. So what happens to that customer that's not so happy? What if that reporter interviewed that customer? What might they say? Maybe not about your company, but about somebody else, right? What might they say?
Yeah, I mean, you get a negative review and you go, well, how did this come about? What happened? And if we reflect that on our guys, how do we deal with that at that point? That's a struggle.
It is.
I mean, it's so bad that you'll have people call, we had one the other day, they called us, we told them we couldn't get to them, we couldn't do their stuff. They actually went on and did a negative review.
Because you couldn't get there.
We couldn't get there, we didn't even work like that.
Isn't that amazing?
Yes, stupid.
Now,
Then you can't get it all.
Yeah, it takes some time.
right, very difficult process. We all run into it. I've had people that said, I hated working for this company. They were awful. And I looked at it and said, this person's never worked for our company. Yeah, this belonged to somebody else. This wasn't my problem. Well, it is now. I'm stuck with it. How do you answer those things on a Google review or a Yelp review? They can be removed. Yep. If you can go through and do what you tried, right? But also having a quick answer to there, which is, hey, we're so sorry that you had this experience. We're taking a look through our books. We don't see you as a client, but please reach out. We'd love to talk to you. See if we can help fix the problem, right? You've all seen reviews like that, I'm sure. When you see a review out there, I have to tell you, when I see a company that has 700 reviews and all of them are 4.0s or 5.0s, I'm a little bit like, okay, them, their friends, their neighbors, and the 12 accounts that they have just went in and put a whole bunch of reviews, right?
Signed all their employees.
Bingo, right?
Kids.
I actually like the ones that have one or two bad ones. They feel more honest. And our client base, right, they're smart. They live and breathe by these cell phones. They understand what a review is. Who's bought a product online from a company that had a bad review but had a bunch of good ones? I have. All the time. And why? Because I've had that customer that's complained that you did a great job with, right? But overall, when it comes to your culture, do your employees, do your vendors, right, your suppliers, do your subcontractors, do your clients, would they tell the same story? Would it be pretty dang close? You're the driver of that within your business, of what that looks like. If I'll pick on you for a second. I just hired you. I just asked you to go straighten up my bin of all my parts out there. And I caught you smoking, sitting on your cell phone. What the heck are you doing?
That's what we do now.
No, that's not what we do. Back in my day, I don't pat you on the back, I pat you on the butt, right?
It's vaping.
Oh, vaping. Oh, yeah, thanks, man.
Vaping and
Yeah.
texting.
Yeah, okay, that's not going to work around here. I see this again, you're out, right? Now, if I treat an employee like, thanks for letting me pick you on you. If I treat an employee like that, how's that employee going to treat my customer?
The same way.
Same way. Right, We've seen those commercials about a kid that starts doing something mean to somebody else, or maybe you've seen it on Facebook or whatever else. It's like, well, where did you learn to do that? I learned it from you, Dad. Right? Our kids learn from us. That's where they learn how to swear. That's where they learn how to treat people. It's also where they learn how to have manners. It's where they learn how to be a good person, a good citizen. And how to work. Okay? To think before you speak. What's this going to actually come out as? What's this going to be accepted by, and look like to my customer, right? And so that think before you speak and look in 2-3 steps into it, that's driven from who? From you guys. You're going to drive that in your company. It was really interesting when I bought my first ServiceMaster franchise. It had been in business for about 25 years. There was 8 employees. Didn't have a lot of growth over 25 years, and I was talking, I think it was to you earlier today, but about sometimes, you have opportunities to buy a business because it just hasn't been growing well or something's happened, and this was one that, hey, good amount of equipment, nice building. Yeah, I'd like to get in this industry. Let me do this, and I bought that business. First week, I heard more words that I hadn't heard since middle school. Right? Now, we're all in the trades business. Do our employees have a little bit more colorful speech than somebody who's working in an office sometimes? Yeah, it happens. I don't know, here in Utah and California, it happens a lot, What was interesting is I met with my wife and my business partners, and I said, hey, we're going to try something a little bit different here. Let's make sure Very simple thing. Now, I don't have colorful language to begin with, okay? But I said, let's make sure that we're careful. That every time an employee comes to us with a problem, that we're not jumping down on top of them. We're not managing like this. We're saying, oh, okay, you backed into a house. Are you okay? Is the customer okay? All right. Any damage to the truck and the house, what do I need to do? And I've had that happen multiple times. I've had people drive right into a house. It's crazy. Well, but no matter what the situation, I'm not going to lose my cool. I'm not going to do something I would want them to do. And let's see what happens with them. About 2-3 years into it, it was interesting as we were hiring technicians, and all my technicians they dealt with people in their homes after a flood, the middle of the night. I mean, you imagine, you know this, you know what a flood looks like, right? You get called out on these things. The last thing you want is a bunch of guys in there just F-bombing and, and acting the way that they may act, right? Well, language was something that we just never had happen in our office. And we'd hire people, and after about a week, they'd come in and say, hey, Troy, can I talk to you? Yeah. I say, I've never worked in a place like this where everyone's so nice to each other. And like I have to relearn how to talk even because like nobody else cusses. It's like, yeah, if we cuss in the shop, we're going to cuss in the customer's home, right? That was part of the culture that we built within our team, which actually made people feel pretty comfortable, and I never, ever had a problem of somebody calling and saying, hey, your guys are just foul-mouthed, people, right? It was respect as part of that culture. What things in your business do you do to keep that culture right so that your people are representing you? It's important. Your vehicles, are they clean? Are they nice? Do they represent what I'm going to want in my home? Right? Or is it a 1983 van that hasn't had a paint job since 1982? Right? Are we taking care? What type of culture, what types of things are we pushing in our business to help with that? Those are things that can give us ups and downs over the years with our business. Definitely tied into that. So as we look at these different areas, let's hit on product a little bit. Do we all have access to the same product for the most part here? Pretty similar. I have a feeling that when we all go over here next door for the expo part of this, and you're talking to vendors over there, that I think every one of those vendors would like to do business with you. Right? If I sell fittings, I'm only going to sell it to you. I'm not going to sell it to that guy. I'm only going to sell it to you. No. Product is kind of interesting, huh? So if you're looking at down at that scale, can you all buy the same fixtures, the same plumbing? You might have some different deals when it comes to the types of the brands that you sell. If you're in the HVAC business, some of you might be doing day and night, some of you might be doing Collier, some of you might be doing Trane, some of you might be doing, right? How many of those are built in the same factory? Do you really have a huge product difference between your companies? Me as a consumer, do I know the difference between those brands? I don't know anything between those brands. To me, they're all, I don't know which is best. Who am I trusting? I'm trusting you. Actually, I'm probably trusting your people, unless you're the guy in the van. And as you grow, you're going to be less in the van and more your guys out in the field, right? I'm trusting your people, correct? And if they're telling me, hey, I've got this day and night system we want to install, right? Or this Noritz water system, or this whatever other brand water system, right? Yeah, I can go out online, I can look at other people's review as to what people are going to say about this. But really, who am I trusting?
I think a lot of us in here on product, like water heaters or whatever, a lot of it comes down to the rep that backs it up for you.
It does.
Whoever has your back.
Yep. So how do you...
Behind the product.
Yeah, exactly. Whoever works with you best, that's
Yep.
the stuff you're gonna use.
That's what you're going to use. Even if it's a little bit more money. It's worth it if they support you. So for your clients, do you think they have kind of the same feeling? They do. Does every customer go with the lowest bidder?
Nope, not
No. You can always win the lowest bid war if you want, but you'll be out of business usually, correct? But what sets you apart from your competitor down the street or from a couple cities away that's just advertising a cheap price on some ad, right? What sets you apart? What makes you different? Part of that is your entire package, your entire company. It's your people. It's the culture that comes through your people. It's that they understand that.
You know, I was doing a training a few weeks ago in Phoenix with one of the largest plumbing companies in the world. And the head guy at the company said, we don't care that our guys know so much about our product. We want them to sell our company when they're in the house. And it was interesting, that shocked me. You know what? You don't want your guys to know training? No, we've already given them the credibility. We want them to keep that. And I was shocked that a national company would say that, you know, across
Yep.
the whole United States.
Yep. I've got a friend that owns a company in Phoenix. He's not the largest, but he's got a pretty good following. Rainforest. I don't know if you're,
Yeah.
okay, Ike Tippett's, good guy. Is he a plumber? No. No, he's not. He got his MBA, decided to go into business and said, hey, I think this is a good product. I think we could do something with this. I think I can build something well beyond pipes in your wall. And he's branded himself a great company. I'd check him out for you. I love what he's done with this company. He gives the look and feel of, it's like, man, I want to have a plumbing problem so his guys can come into my shop or into my house and fix it. Not really. But if I was, man, I wish I could get them here, all the way up here in Utah. I love their look, their feel. Every single bit of that company is just dialed in wonderfully. And the employees, I've got a couple nephews that are in the HVAC business in Phoenix. They're like, yeah, that's the company I want to work for, you know? And why? It's because they've got that right look, that right feel. They have pride working for that company. Do they pay the most? Not necessarily, but they pay well. They take good care of their customers or their employees.
Last week, we do a little bit of work for Holmes Homes, and Spencer Holmes is the president of Holmes Homes. You never hear from him because you're working with all the people, you know.
Right.
You just never. But they had a big production meeting down in their office, and at the end of that, they called my son Jared and just thanked us for everything we're doing for them, you know. And that's rewarding, you know, stuff like that. That
Wow.
makes it feel like, yeah, it's worth doing your stuff. So just an extra phone call to somebody makes a world of difference.
A phone call from a company like that makes you feel good. Do you want to work for that company more?
Yeah, you do. And yeah.
Push come to shove, you've got a couple jobs to get done and you don't have enough crews. Who are you going to put that crew on that
Somebody
day?
says thanks for doing our stuff, thanks for taking care of us.
Bingo.
Yeah, it's like, yeah, let's do this one instead of that.
Yep. Yeah, you're going to give them a little bit preferential treatment on that, aren't you? And they respect you for what you're doing. That's a good relationship. That's a partnership relationship. Okay, what do they have different? That's part of their culture. It's also part of a process that they're putting in place, right? So the product line that we sell as well, I mean, yes, there's things that we can do. I mean, because we can look at product a little bit larger scale, a little bit more strategic is maybe it's not the brand of fixtures or the brand of a hot water heater or whatever else you're doing, but it might be the product lines, right? The individual lines in your books that you go after. Hey, I'm doing maintenance. Hey, I do a $29 unclog anything in your house just to get the leads, right? Plenty of companies doing that, right? There's all these other things out there. It's a matter of what do I do best? What do I enjoy the most? What can I employ the best employees doing? What's going to build my business in the way that I want it to build? And those are the products that I'm going to be offering out there. It might be some mechanical work, right? Heard mechanical work here. You were talking about it's kind of nice doing the mechanical and the plumbing because then you get to choose where to put the stuff and you're not having to bounce into each other, right? You know, you got a little bit more control over that job. It's nice. That's a good product mix, right? And so as you look at your business and the products, think for a moment, where are you at on this scale? Are you still just in the beginning because we just brought a new product line or we just started something a little bit different? Are you ramped up and going well? Are you kind of coasting? and maybe it could drop off real fast, or you're actually on a decline and somebody's eating your lunch. Somebody else is there doing what you should be doing. When you run into those areas in each of these, it's a matter of, is it time to relever the business? Have I hit an inflection point? You know, and we tell people inflect early, inflect often with their business, because you want to keep that that progression of your company growing the right way without the dips. So processes, how do processes affect your business? Why do you think that might be a pillar in business? Anybody have any ideas? Know what you expect to be done. Now, are you one of the ones that likes to golf? That's what I thought. Uh-oh, he likes to golf. All right, so can you be comfortable out there golfing if you have zero processes in your business? No. What are you going to be doing on the golf course if you don't have good, solid processes? Thinking about business. Taking phone calls. Yep. Scheduling that next job. Rescheduling the one they didn't show up to. Calling Chip, where is he? Over there, Chip and Barb, and saying, hey, I thought you were supposed to be on that job at 7 o'clock this morning. Right? Processes have a lot to do with what we do. They also have to do a lot with risk mitigation. You know, one of the things our company, we actually own a workers' comp company here in Utah. And so risk is very important to us. A lot of our clients use our workers' comp because it's a great product. We also give them a risk manager to work with their team, because we want the processes to try to reduce and mitigate any type of a loss that can happen when it comes to employees getting hurt. Now, there's a financial piece to that. Who here has had a workers' comp claim in the last 5 years? How about the last 5 weeks? Right? 5 days? Okay. Hopefully not last 5 hours, because we just started the day, but it happens, right? What's interesting is as you look at your business and start looking at processes, yeah, there's a safety and a risk factor to that. How do you do what you do? Is there any way a plumber can get hurt? Or, oh, I know, on the mechanical side, cutting ductwork, you can't get hurt doing that, right? That stuff's as dull as can be, right? No, there's a lot of areas and a lot of things. Now, if I send Chip out there, and Chip hasn't really been trained on how to put ductwork together and how to make these cuts and to do a few other things, how apt is Chip to be missing a chunk of his finger by the end of the day?
Yeah, your most accidents happen with your most unskilled people,
Yes.
laborers.
Yep.
Managers that
Man-
think they can do it on their own.
Managers that think they can do it on their own. I'm the manager, I can do this. Do they do it every day?
Nope.
No.
They've done it before.
They've done it before.
Done it my way.
They're gonna show those kids how to do it.
I'm gonna show them.
I'm going to show them. Yep. Anybody ever heard that? Yeah. So
I'm one of those, by the way.
I was going to say, I was going to ask the question. Now, my worst employee was a partner. Okay? We are our worst enemies. Okay? Now, I say that. I dearly love Scott.
There's a reason I golf now.
Okay, that's good.
They told me that
So-
the processes worked, that's all I'm saying.
Yep. So one of my partners, fantastic guy in our franchises, he grew up in the business. But, you know, we had a good-sized warehouse, about 13,000 square feet. We did a lot of content storage of things after fires, things like that. We'd bring back, clean, store in our warehouse, and then bring back out. So I had a lot of pallet racks. And, you know, it just takes too long to bring that rolling ladder over there sometimes to get a thing off that top shelf, right? Would we ever let an employee climb up like a monkey on this thing and get it? No. Would I do that as an owner? Come on. Who's climbed something that you would never let an employee do, right? We've done it. We've crawled underneath stuff. We've reached our hands in places we shouldn't reach them, right? And why? Because we've been there, we've done that, kind of like to your point about the manager, right? So we could be our own worst enemy. And what happens when our employees see us crawling up and doing something like that?
It's okay for them to do it.
It's okay for them to do it, right? I learned by watching you, Dad, right? So when it comes to processes, those are very important for us, not just in risk, you know, and I have to say risk is one of those that is near and dear to my heart. A lot of people don't realize how, unless you've been through it, how tough it is to get that call at 10 o'clock that a 23-year-old kid just fell 30 feet off the top of a building they were framing. 23-year-old kid. Happened last month. Thank goodness they had just excavated the dirt below him. Thank goodness he missed the stack of boards and the cement stuff that was there and hit the soft dirt. Yep. Yeah. Thank goodness it was a 23-year-old and not a 55-year-old guy, right? Getting that phone call that somebody just got electrocuted.
So you're saying that 23-year-old's okay?
He will be. He will be okay. Thank goodness. 30-foot fall, that's a pretty tough one. Major, major thing, right? That's a life changer. It could be a business changer.
That's an OSHA.
Absolutely is. Year and a half ago, we brought on a brand new company. They've been in business for years, manufacturing wood products. And 2 weeks after we brought them on, they had a temp. Another, thank goodness, wasn't one of mine. But we had to help with this process. That was working on something, wearing a jacket. The employee's arm got hit by the equipment and got ripped off of her. I want you to think for a second. Think about that employee that you really love. Got a good family. Working hard, right? Because it's kind of hard to make ends meet. Goes to work and ends up without an arm, having it ripped off. That's a terrible situation to be in. What are your processes to handle something like that when it happens right now? When the phone calls and someone says, hey, I don't know what just happened, but John, Chip, Barb, Alan just got life flighted and we don't know if he was going to make it. Those are hard calls to get as a business owner.
That's your dollar day.
That's when everything else you're doing just kind of goes out the window. It's like, what do I need to do to help? What do I need to do? What could I have done different? And then who follows up with that to ask those questions in a difficult way? Somebody just said that word, OSHA. Anybody here ever had an OSHA inspection? Yeah. Most of the time it's because you have an employee that's kind of not happy and he calls something in, right? Sometimes it's because of an accident, a reportable issue. Multiple reportable issues are the same thing. You know, how are you going to handle that when that occurs? Those are part of those processes to put in place in your business to help mitigate the risks. They're going to happen. Hopefully they won't. We have a discussion every month about our clients. I have about 200 clients that we service, and we look at them, especially on their annual renewal cycle, and say, hey, they've had no accidents. Their mod rate's nice and low. You know, that mod rate, if you don't know, for your workers' comp is a multiplier as to what you're going to pay for that insurance for the year. If you have a 0.7, you're paying less than this guy, or this guy maybe. If you have a 1.5, you're paying a heck of a lot more than this guy or this guy, right? Makes you competitive. Well, we look at them and we say, okay, hey, their mod rate just went down. And the biggest question we ask, is that because of skill or luck? Yes. A little bit of both. Are there things you can do to mitigate that? Are there processes you can put in place that can kind of help? Some training, right? When you do trainings, do they sign off on that training? Because if it's not documented, it wasn't done, right? As far as OSHA is concerned. There's a lot of different things within there. When it comes to the fines you might get from OSHA. We've had, I have to say actually, some of these larger ones like I've just explained could have 6-figure fines. But if everything's been done right and been documented, you've got good safety, you've got the right processes in place, and this was a fluke or this was because of some other thing, we've seen those fines be as little as $1,000.
You know, we had a running period in our company where he talks about luck. Yeah, luck's part of it. And we would have our safety meeting of the week on ladders. The next day, somebody would have an accident on a ladder. I mean, it's like, are you kidding?
It's like you jinxed it,
And
right?
It happened several times. It's like crazy.
It's crazy. On that process,
Yeah.
there's one thing to sit and talk to your employees and tell them. It's another thing to get them to be champions and say, hey, you know what? We're doing a ladder training, and I'd really like you to lead this thing this time. You know, Barb, you know, it's okay if I call you Barb.
Call me Barb.
Okay, Barb, could you take a little bit extra time today? Here's some materials. I would like you to present this to the team and teach them that. Now, the reason I'm doing that is because I saw Barb climbing a ladder the other day, and Barb, high heels don't work on a ladder, right? They were red. Okay, that's good. So, but the fact is part of your process and part of growing your people, right? You know, and that culture of safety, that's one of those things you want to work on, right? Is getting your people to buy into it. The best way to get someone to buy into it is to have them be part of it. You know, and picking that employee. Now, I don't know if I'd necessarily choose Chip to teach ladder safety.
Because he doesn't have any respect.
No respect, right? Yes.
Hey, most of you are probably aware that you can call OSHA and have them come inspect your shop or a job site. It's free of charge, and they won't penalize you. If you call them in and ask them, hey, we'd like an evaluation, they'll come in and do it for you, and they'll go, hey, here are the points that you need to work on. There's two branches of OSHA. There's
There
the
are.
prevention, and then there's the,
Consulting side. Yep.
what do you call it?
Consulting.
Well, consulting,
Yes.
and then enforcement.
Enforcement, yes.
Enforcement, that's what it is. So I highly recommend calling up OSHA and have them come visit your shop.
Yep.
It's free, and they don't even, it's not like they'll penalize you for that, just say, here, these are the things we recommend you do. And it's a huge benefit that more people should utilize. Has anybody done that before? Just raise their hands.
Yep.
Yeah, it's awesome, really.
It's pretty good. You know, we do a lot of those for our clients, and OSHA will come out and do those as well. One thing you have to be aware of is, of course, if they see something, you better fix it.
Sure.
Because if there's an accident down the road and you didn't, they have documentation. But you're right, they've got a great department for that. So on processes, do we see how processes kind of fit within our business and within this plan as you're looking at how am I going to grow, what am I going to do? Where do you think you fit right now in your processes? Think about that for a moment. Do you just have good ideas and haven't implemented them yet? Are you moving forward and still growing? Have you plateaued? Do you have 5 employees that haven't been through training yet? You just put them on the job because they could breathe and you needed them? Right? You know, what place are you at and where do you need to be to keep yourself from hitting these dips in some of those risk areas? Okay, so that kind of brings us to a couple other areas here. When we look at pipeline. Now, talking to plumbers about pipeline can mean a lot of different things, right? And right now, it's interesting, as I deal with most of our tradespeople, pipeline hasn't been the real issue. They have too much work. Anybody here feel like they have a little bit too much work on their plate? I heard a few of you talking earlier. Yeah. It's kind of difficult, isn't it? That's a tough situation to be in. It's a good situation to be in. Who would rather have too much work than not enough? All stinking day long, right? When you have too much work, are you bidding low to get the stuff, or are you bidding a good price that you're going to make a good living on? You have a better margin, don't you? Yeah, much better margin. I was talking to one contractor 2 days ago. I was in my office in Orem. And it was interesting because it's a husband and wife, and the wife had come in to do some payroll stuff and a couple meetings, and I'd met with her. We did a deep dive maybe 4 months ago. And she says, it's time for us to do another deep dive. I said, great, let's schedule it, come on in. And the problem they're having is the same problem some of you are. They've got too much work. Like, how do I price this stuff? What do I need to do? And what was interesting is the discussion went to, she's like, you know what we really need? We're building another home here. We just got asked to do this other home over here. She said, we just don't have enough vehicles and people. I said, well, your next job, how much is that vehicle going to cost you? Tack it on there. If you don't have enough time to do it, tack it on there. If they take it, great. You just got a new vehicle on top of it, right? Now, there's a certain amount you have to be fair within your pricing, okay? We have to be fair with what we do, right? It's part of our culture. It's part of what we do, right? But the reality is that when you have much more work than you can handle, you get to cherry pick a little bit more of the work you do. So I'd like to do just kind of a little process that we do with a lot of contractors in the trade industry. Is this actually, the first time I did this was with a chiropractor, and it lent itself very well to what we do, and it's similar to what I did within my own service business. So we're just going to use a hypothetical here of how many jobs. Now I understand we have lots of different types of jobs. We have maintenance, we have repairs, we have replacements, we have new construction. We could do this for every single area of your business, right? But to make this to make this a little bit simpler with this size of a group, I'm just going to use this and say jobs, okay? And you can decide what that job looks like in your business. Let's say in a month, and this might be for a crew or this might be for your whole company. It's all scalable. But let's say we had 100 jobs was our goal. If we have 100 jobs, then that crew or that division or that business or whatever is doing okay. That's that planned profit point. It's going to work. Where do those jobs come from today? So let's just kind of brainstorm a little bit right now. Where do you think your jobs come from? If 100 jobs was your max job and you're kind of looking at that, where would those jobs come from today? What are some areas?
Repeat.
What's that?
Repeat.
Repeat. Okay, so we have a repeat. Referral. Oh, by the way, I have a rule. Anytime that I'm whiteboarding something, SDK, spelling don't count. With a K. All right, so referral, repeat customers, referrals, those are coming in. Let's say on a company that's doing 100 jobs, how many of those do you think we're going to say that this fictional company here or whatever is doing out of repeat business? 10?
He better be doing more than that. Mark, you just went all the way up to
Okay, so let's say 50 of these are repeats, okay? And this will start making sense in a second here. So 50 of those are repeats. Referrals, how many of those are coming for referrals? 15? All right, I like that. Okay, what are some other areas that this
New advertising.
advertising, okay, marketing, right? So, and how many of those are coming from that? 5, okay, let's do 5. By the way, that 5, that marketing, what could that include? Facebook? Could it be Instagram stuff that you're doing, pay-per-click?
Public media.
Okay. Radio? Okay. Hard for me to write way down low here. Radio. Okay, so let's say if 5 are coming from there. We may bump that up in a minute. What are some other areas?
TV for Ralph.
Oh, yeah? Okay. TV. Awesome. Good job, Ralph. All right, so where are some other areas that business may come from? Now, we have referrals being 15. Let's take this and make another group. And we're going to go general contractors. So out of those, let's say 5 are coming from that. And there's a couple of them that are this one's bringing in 2, and this one's bringing in 3. Okay? Other referrals. Do any of you belong to a networking group? What do you belong to?
BNI.
BNI. All right, Givers Gain. Great. Anybody else belong to any other type of a marketing group? Do you have any employees that attend anything like that? Okay. Are there other referral sources besides those types of things? Yeah. They could be client referrals. Referrals from within here. Have any of you ever referred another company in here for something? Yeah. Couldn't get to it? Sure. Oh, you bet, right? That's probably back up here, like with the general contractors as well, right? So those relationships, it's those things. Okay. If we broke these down a little bit different now, I'm going to change colors of pens. I'm using way too much blue. If we started changing things around a little bit, and this person that's doing 100 jobs, whatever that represents, or units or whatever you guys want to do, are there things you can do within here to increase that pipeline? Now, right now, some of you are going, I have too much pipeline. I don't care, Troy. Too busy. But there's a reason behind this, because we're going to get to that point in just a minute. Because again, we want to have a fat, good pipeline that's constant, right? Because by the way, have any of you in different phases of your business ridden the roller coaster of, I have too much work, I can't stand it. I'm out in the van, I'm doing all this work myself. I wish I could hire 5 more people. Hey, we just got it all done. There's nothing in the pipeline for next month. Crud, next quarter's not looking good. I have no commercial jobs lined up. I haven't been out making my relationships with these guys, right? I haven't put the RFPs and the RFQs out there because I've been too busy working. And then what do? You hit that inflection point on marketing, and you get out and start doing it again. You build it up until you're going, what? Hey, I'm too busy. I can't stand it anymore. No, I got too much work coming in. So the idea of building and understanding your pipeline becomes really important, because pipeline is your biggest producer of predictability in your company. When I see a company that grows and shrinks and does all these types of things, yes, there's seasonal changes. You guys busy during certain seasons?
Last few years,
No? Just constant. That's nice. Prior to that, were this?
Does production go down in the winter? Yes.
Yeah, okay. So, but looking at that, if you understand how to control your pipeline and give you a constant flow all the time that you can either do or you can pass to another buddy in here or to somebody else to do and sub it out, is that a good place to be? If you took a look at the 80-20 rule and said, hey, if I could take my 20% of what I do the best, what I make the most money at, what I get the quickest pay on and everything else, if I could get a whole lot of that, would you be a happy person? Yeah, probably. So understanding where that pipeline comes from and being able to make that grow is an important part of your business, especially when you're too busy. Because everybody else is suffering from the same issue. They're too busy. Do we have time when you're so busy to make those relationships with your referral sources the same? Or are you just hopping from one job to the next? Right? And that's where this part of looking at your business and being strategic about that can make a big difference for you. Had a discussion also yesterday, I think it was yesterday, maybe it was this morning, with one of you, and this is something that happens a lot. It's just, what's my business worth if I sell it? Do I just work it until it's done its purpose and I close it down? Do I sell it? What am I selling? Me? My relationship? Right? How does that run? Well, if I was looking to buy one of your businesses, I'd want to know that your pipeline is strong. I'd like to know that you actually have it dialed in and working so that when I buy your business, it's continuing to come in because it's not about you. Right? I can only borrow that reputation for so long. And I can screw that up with one job. We've all seen it happen.
That's how he acquired his.
There you go. So, understanding these principles are pretty important. On a pipeline, let's take a look at that and let's break this down a little bit. Repeat customers. He's getting 50% of those. 50 of his jobs are coming through there. What can you do in your business to get more repeat customers? Is there something you can do? Absolutely, I heard. Anybody have any ideas? Anything they could share? It's okay if...
Treat them like family.
Treat them like family. Tell me a little bit more.
because that close contact with that technician, with that person solving a problem in need, when they're in a time of need, bonds that relationship. It helps build and foster it. And, they'll remember that for years to come. And they'll call you back next time. And they'll refer you to their friends because they've been treated exceptionally. And so they'll refer you to friends and family, and it just grows and grows from there.
It does.
Like family.
Yep, treat them like family. That's great. So, what are some processes that we might be able to put in place to help grow that repeat business? You just came out and you just replaced my hot water heater. How could you set me up for more repeat business?
Once again, treat them like family. If you take a look and say, hey, by the way, your boiler over here, it's like 30 years old and, it's getting pretty tired. You probably better planning, here's some budget numbers. You better start planning on saving some money because this thing's on its way out and you need to be prepared.
Okay.
But, just looking out for them, looking out for their needs, their future needs, their current needs, and hopefully if you treat your employees like their family, then they, just like you said, the culture will follow through.
Yep.
And it just grows and grows.
Okay. If you have office staff, besides the cell phone that you carry in your pocket, we've all been there at some point, right, as we grew our businesses, can your office staff help with that repeat business? Absolutely can. It can be big.
We have different marketing companies that'll send them a text and thank them for their business and continue on with that. And if
Yeah.
they're not doing that, that's one of those ways we lose contact with whether they're happy, whether they're saying all that before that Google review goes in and whatnot. You can be proactive about making sure you have that future business.
Yep. I just brought my wife's Ford into the dealer this week because the little screen thing keeps blanking out. And they said, it's a known issue. All we need to do is throw it on we just need to reprogram it. No problem. Good. I have this other thing happening every so often. Same thing. The program is going to take care of that. Fantastic. We got that taken care of. And what did I get that day? A phone call. A survey, right? What I got was a pre-survey, right? I got, hi, this is Camille from, where did I go? Larry H. Miller Ford. I said, hi, Camille, and I knew what was coming.
How did your service writer do?
Right. How did your service writer do? How did we take care of you today? Can I ask you just a couple quick questions? I know you're busy, and I called out of the blue. Sure, go ahead, Camille. I'm just curious. Would you rate us as high as an excellent on the way that we treated you and brought you in and took care of your issues today? I said, you know what, I think I would. That's great. Let me ask another question. Would you think that we were excellent in our process of how quick we got you in and did we offer you a drive back to your office or home? Right? Now, what is she prepping me for? For the survey that's going to come, right? And it's sitting in my email box, and I'm going to actually answer it. And why? Because, Camille was very nice. She respected my time. I liked what she did. And when she was done, I said, now, I have to ask you, Camille, do you work for them directly, or are you a contractor, or are you an operation that does this for them? And she says, well, actually, I work for them direct. I said, okay. I said, I like how you handled that, and I have some clients that would love to have this service happening. So that's why I was asking, right? But do you think that because of that, first of all, that the review is going to be higher for me? Dang straight, because they programmed in my mind that they did an excellent job. Pretty smart. In my service business, we did a similar thing. We had a little survey, a pre-survey that we would send out before they would get their actual survey. But our technicians asked some questions as well. And it's like, hey, Mrs. Jones, before we leave today, here's what we did. We extracted the water in these rooms. We removed some baseboards, drilled some holes, put some flans out there to dry it. We're going to be back tomorrow about 10 o'clock to check on this. We'll call you if it's going to be later, but about 10 o'clock. And, I think we've explained everything to you that went on here. Do you have any other questions? Have we provided you excellent service today? Is there anything I could have done better? And when you ask those questions, what's that customer going to be doing? No, you've been great. Yeah, You could help me with one other thing. You've got a couple cables there I think my kids are going to trip over. Oh, I missed that. Let me get some tape. I'll be right back, right? Let me tape those down. Let me secure that differently. Are there things you can do to empower your clients? Are your clients happy to see you as a plumber? If I call you out to fix a hot water heater, am I happy that you're coming to my house? I kind of have to. I had what? An inflection point, right? My plumbing I didn't take care of, and now I need to replace that stupid thing because it's starting to leak, right? And by the way, I can't fix that myself. I'm not that empowered to do those things. What are some things you can do with that culture and with that, again, wanting to have you come back to their home? In a flood situation, in a fire situation, it was always difficult. Nobody wants to have to take care of that in their home, right? And a lot of the plumbing disasters, the same thing. There's a question that your technicians can ask when they come into the front door that can set the stage for how they're felt about as a employee and how your company is. It's a very simple thing. As I come and knock at your door, and Mrs. Olson, because it was always usually the wife and the family that was there for the flood. I was just amazed how that was our client. But hey, Mrs. Olson, am I okay where I parked? Hi, I'm Troy from Service Master or whatever. Hey, we're here to take care of you. But before I come in, am I okay where I'm parked out there? Is that okay? Oh, that's just fine. In fact, park right in the driveway if you want. Oh, I think I'm fine there, but thanks. Let's come in and take a look at what's going on. What did I just do?
You put them in control.
Put them in control. Before, they were out of control, right? You were, because you're this plumber that's going to come out and tell me who knows how much I'm going to have to pay for this thing, right? But what you do, you just turned the whole thing around. You put them in control. You asked permission of them. Am I parked in a good place? Right? And you just set the stage for them to feel like, I like that feeling. Right? It's little things like that you can train your employees to do that start that whole feeling, that whole thing. And all that adds up to, at the end, when they're finishing up their job and they're scheduling that maintenance to come back out in a year, you're a friend now, right? Hey, I want this person coming back to my home. I don't want him, I want him. Okay, nothing personal. Yeah. So those are the types of things, though, as you start looking at your processes, you're building these things that you can start doing to make your business feel that much better to your customer, where that they're not happy they had the break in their pipe, right, or that disaster or whatever it is that they're doing, but they're sure happy that they chose you, and they feel good about it, and it reassures them on those. And also, when they give you those Yelp and those Google reviews, what do you think the flavor of that's going to be? You're setting that stage, right? Do we need to take a little break? It's been a little bit here. Let's take just a real quick break. It's 10 o'clock. Let's take about a 10-minute break. All right, so I'm going to try to get us out of here a little bit before 11. That's when the Expo Center will be open for us. So, and it's a whole maybe 50 steps away from here. So, it'll be pretty close. So, has any of this stuff resonated anything with anybody today? Good. Got a few bobbing heads. I'm just going to wrap this up real quick, and then I think we're going to talk about finance a little bit, and then kind of get to a wrap up on this thing as well. So, we talked about there are some things you could do within your business that might help that repeat business go a little bit better, right? What are some other areas, as we looked at this, on your referrals from general contractors, who has their favorite 3 or 4 contractors that give them a lot of work? Most people do, right? And you're kind of their favorite sub, right? Do you track how much work comes from them? Sure. Kinda. Sometimes. Do you notice when it's not coming? QuickBooks?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look at how much I've done for them over the 10 years I've worked for them.
Right. Yeah, you can pull reports, you can take a look. Okay. Interesting thing is in my service business at one point, I was doing a lot of Farmers insurance work. Now, I was actually the #1 vendor for Farmers, State Farm, Mercury, Allstate. We had a lot of contracts. But Farmers was our big boy. In fact, I had an adjuster that was giving us about 19 to 21 floods a month, like clockwork, for about 2 years. The guy was fantastic. And all of a sudden, my farmer's work started dropping off. But I was so busy with everything else, I wasn't really keeping my sights on where everything was coming from at that time. Could I pull a report from QuickBooks? Yes. Did I? No, I was too busy, right? I was too busy in my business to be looking at some of those things. I didn't have that system put in place. And what I noticed all of a sudden was, why did we only have, because at the end of the quarter, when that quarter was getting down to here, looking pretty bad, I thought, what happened to my farmer's work? What do you mean we've only had 5 jobs from farmers? Let me take a look.
Somebody else sent your adjuster on a cruise.
That's about exactly what happened. And what was interesting is about that same time, my son came to me and says, hey, a guy just stopped me at the mailbox and asked me, he noticed the yellow van out in front, and he says, hey, do you know Troy? It's like, yeah, it's my dad. That adjuster lived 2 streets away from me. I could walk to his house, right? Why don't I have a better relationship? For years I had a relationship with him. And that's where I started looking and said, okay, so why am I not getting as much farmer's work? And the reason is because he stopped sending me work. Now, did he get it set on a cruise? I don't know what the other guy did. There was another franchise that had just been sold in town, and he was starting to eat some of my lunch. You know, has anybody had a competitor start eating your lunch? It's not fun, right? Like, where'd that business go? And you find out, ooh, they just made a new friend. Yeah? Employees that start their own business. Does that ever happen to anybody? Oh, heck yeah. Yep. So tracking these things, though, are very important, because if you notice it quicker, you're not going to end up down on one of these valleys that you don't want to be in. Faster you can find where that work has been coming and isn't coming anymore, the quicker you can repair that relationship. Had I noticed that before, like the first month, when I realized, whoa, what happened here? I'm only getting half the amount of leads from this guy. If I had taken him out to lunch, if I had made sure that I jumped on a work site that he was the adjuster for, do you think that could have made a difference? I might not be the guy out there taking care of the flood, the leak, the whatever else was going on every day, but that relationship, something's happened, and I need to make sure that I'm on site when my guys are there and when he's going to be there, right? Those are the things that you can find early enough to make a difference to not start losing that business. The other thing is finding other ones. Who has a contractor that they don't necessarily love doing work for? Can I see 2 hands for those, right? We all have them, right? Pretty tough. Who's ever fired a GC? You're not going to take their work anymore, right? Was it easy?
It was wonderful.
After the fact, but was it easy before that?
It wasn't easy before the pandemic, but after the pandemic, when work was so much work, it made it easy because it
Bingo.
was like, we don't need this anymore.
Good, do me a favor, go work
Yeah,
for somebody.
exactly.
That's right.
Go find somebody else.
So I had an adjuster with State Farm that brought us probably 20%, 25% of our fire work that we did in our franchises. And this was in San Bernardino County. And really liked this gal because she brought us a lot of work, but she also gave us a lot of headaches. By far, she was the slowest payer. If there's a way to delay payment, she delayed that payment. And she would always tell the customer, you don't pay ServiceMaster until you're 100% happy. And when they got that check for 30 grand for the job I just did, how quick are they to turn that money over to me? It's always a headache. There's always trouble. And there was always, oh, you can just take care of that while you're doing this. Has everybody ever had a GC that say, hey, I know I told you there's only going to be 3 flushables and there's going to be this and that, but we're going to throw in a bidet, but you know what, you're already there, just charge me for the parts and nothing for the labor. Anybody had a GC that kind of like that? All right, it happens. Well, in our business, when we got ready to sell, and we said, hey, our plan is to sell and move out of California. Who's ever heard that before, right? You know, none of my kids wanted the business. They all moved up here to Utah. We've wanted to be here for years, and I finally said, okay, it's time. So let's get this thing ready to sell. I don't want to sell it down here. I want to sell it when it's right up here, right? So it's easy to get financing for the person I sell it to, and so that everything's taken care of. And during that period, we looked at it, and I said, okay, first thing that's got to go is me. If you sold your business today, if you got sick and you had to sell your business today, or something else happened and your spouse had to sell this business today. How much of that business is reliant upon you?
We
Could I-
lost a sheet metal contractor that got COVID and was in the hospital for a month, and it cost him his business.
1 month. Sheet metal contractor, if you didn't hear that. It cost him his business. He was out with COVID. If you weren't there to drive your business, where would it be in 6 months? Right? I decided when we went to sell our business, I didn't want to be sold with the business. I didn't want them buying me.
Because then you'd have to work there for 2-3 years
Right.
till your exit plan.
Transfer all the relationships or try. Deal with all the changes that they're going to make, right, that they said they weren't, right? All that kind of garbage, right? And then end up with the worst case scenario of, oops, I have to take it back and rebuild it because they destroyed it. Last thing I wanted to do, right? So we decided as soon as it was time for us to look at that exit strategy was, okay, Troy, you're fired. It's time for me to be fired. It was a hard day, really hard day. We transitioned pretty well though. Now what I did is I hired my wife to come in, who had never wanted to be part of the business. She did our books, but she really didn't want to be running the business. But she said, you know what, let me come in because I have 0 relationships and I'm not going to make them that way. I'm going to make sure that your employees make those relationships. And I'll manage the process. Now this is going to be interesting. You know the first referral partner she fired was the State Farm adjuster. She said no. Troy, this job just came in, and I said, no. What? That's a $30,000 job. Yep, but I have 2 of those we haven't been paid on yet. Until she pays, I'm not taking any more of her work. She's going to go to somebody else. Sounds like your wife? Does anybody have a spouse that would love to tell us those, that tells us those things sometimes? Come on, let's be honest.
Put stickies up on our
Mm-hmm.
Don't work for them again.
That's right.
It'll work until I say.
I bit my tongue, and I said, I trust you. I trust you. Okay. And instead what we did is we got busy doing work that paid. We got busy doing that stuff that we like to do. And before you knew it, our accounts receivable, oh, did they look better. Our business looked a lot better. Our lines of credit were paid off. I wasn't using them anymore. We were back to a cash business again. Nice and comfortable, looking good, right?
I think it's hard for some of us that have built our businesses from scratch. Because even my daughter, I'll say, we're not going to bid these people anymore. I'm tired of working for them. And then I catch myself looking at their bids, and she's like, Dad.
You said no. Yeah.
You know, and you promised me.
You promised me. Yep.
I
Yep.
need work. I've got guys to put to work. You know, and she's always
Oh yeah.
back saying, you said no.
Right.
And it's hard. You know.
It's very hard because we want to do that thing that's easy. We want to run back home to mama, right? It's the simple thing. It's comfortable. This is what I know. I know how to do it. Well, building your system to know these things as to what's best to do, the best thing we ever did is get rid of that adjuster. Now 6 months later, that adjuster came back and said, look, nobody else does what you guys do. Why won't you do my work? And I had a really honest talk with her. I said, this is why. And
Picker and you don't pay.
and you don't pay, and you make it tough on us. And when you can pay me direct, you still write the check to the customer. You won't even put my name on that check. You make it impossible. How can I work for you when everybody else works so well with us? She actually ended up being a good referral partner again. We tried her back out, but it took 6 months of us saying no until it changed that relationship, that dynamic, and it worked for our business a lot better. Those, exactly. She was in the driver's seat before.
We had a 25-year-old company that we worked for, that I said, no, we can't quit. And last year we quit them, and they came back with that, and now they pay.
And now they pay.
It is amazing how you let them go. You think that they worked with you for 25 years, and yet when you finally just say, I've had enough, I can't deal with your non-payment.
Yep. I had a building contractor that they were building new homes, and they were consistently $600,000 on my accounts receivable. 6 months behind, always. Great work, profitable work. They built crappy houses that would always have floods and would always have mold. I did 27 homes on one street that all had the same window issue with mold. It was so easy. It was Southern California. But great company, but then we started thinking, it's like, you know what, I'm the bank for them, and I just don't trust what this economy is going to do. And we were at a place like we are today. Now, I'd already paid for all that work, so it was just money coming in every month. And you get that $100,000 a month coming in, that's kind of nice, right? But do I really want to hold that much out there that I may not get paid on? So we actually made them come clean before we would do any more work. 2 months after they came clean and paid everything up to us, which was about a 5-month process, they went out of business, and they ran out all their other subs, ended up with a good. Mine was small compared to some of them that they owed, right?
They would have got you for maybe $250,000 at that point. Or
Easy. Actually, if I would have kept on doing it, it would have been $500,000.
could have put you out of business.
Put me out of business. I don't want that happening, right? So these are things that we can do. So if you can actually make these relationships a little bit better, if you could take some time to actually go out and make those relationships, maybe these 5 could turn into 15, right? Or an additional 15. Referrals, overall, the other sources we had, let's say we have another +5 on there. If we actually are handling our Facebook and our marketing, and this is where I'm talking about your employees in the office, not them playing games on Facebook and liking things and whatever else, but actually having a program and a system and a process that you're putting in place as to, hey, I want good social media out there. I want some videos of our guys doing something kind of good. I want to get that culture. I want to get our people. I want to get our entire package out there to where people understand who we are. Do you think you could get a few more things than 5 off of this marketing? Yeah, absolutely you could. You know, so let's say if we got an additional 10 here. Your repeat customers, if we're doing the same thing, you've got somebody in the office making those pre-calls and doing those other things. And if you have Alan, our A player, if Alan's out there talking to them about, let's schedule that next appointment where we come out and do your teeth cleaning, your water heater maintenance or whatever else. These repeat customers, an easy +20. Why does your dentist send you a card in the mail? Because every cleaning can turn into a cavity, right? Something they can fix. And if you miss it, they make even more the next time. But it's that top of mind, you're out there, you're remembering them, right? If you have that little magnet on the refrigerator, I don't know if any of you guys still do that, but it was, hey, that actually made us good money in our business, you know, these little yellow van magnets that were out there. But those little tiny things, before you know it, this company, without doing that much difference, they've got 20, 35, 40, 50. They have another 50 jobs here a month. 50% increase. Did they really do much difference? No. It's just the way that they're doing what they do, right? In your business, are there things like that that you can do that might bring a fatter pipeline? And even though you can't do all the work, and that's okay, it's a good problem to have. If you had a fatter pipeline, 50% more leads coming in, are there a few of these GCs that you might just kind of, like the gentleman back there was saying? Yeah. Are there different types of jobs you could do that you might enjoy a little bit more? There is. Could you study this field here so you're not seeing as much of the roller coaster dip on this thing? Yeah. Could you start looking at, maybe I do put another van out there. Maybe I do put an estimator out there. Maybe I have a marketer, and that marketer's job doesn't even have to be full-time, is going out and dropping off some donuts or cookies or whatever else at some of these other offices monthly, filling up a candy jar, right? What are some of those basic things I can do to be top of mind with my referral sources, with my pipeline, to build that pipeline? Because a good pipeline produces predictability in your company. Who wants more predictability in their company? We all do. We all do. So that kind of gets us back down to finance. In finance, we've talked a little bit about, these ups and downs and the things that you can do. One of the discussions I have a lot with companies is there's 2 ways to go about a healthy company when it comes to finances. One is continual growth, profitable growth, making good decisions, good choices, and making sure that you're always in that right incline, that you're relevering the company in the right places. But there's another place that actually is a really quick change to your business. We came across this by accident. This was in 2011, probably 2010. I was having $1 a day, or I was heading down towards it. I dipped into my retirement for 2 months in a row and had to pull out some pretty big funds just to make payroll happen. Okay, just because of what had happened with the economy, what had happened in our business, what I lost sight of at the time. Right before that, because culture is a big thing, I had done this thing which was doing a random act of kindness. One of my competitors stopped at a stop sign, same time I did. Actually, he got there first and I came afterwards. He's in a bright green truck. Mine are bright yellow. I don't like the green guys, right, you know? But actually, I love those guys, they're good too. But that employee looked over at me, smiled, went like that. Go ahead and go first. I was in my personal vehicle. He didn't know that I was a competitor. And so I'm driving in, I'm getting ready for my supervisor's meeting, you know, with my teams, and I'm thinking, dang, that guy was nice. That was that billboard up there, he just did a nice thing, and now I'm stuck with this ServPro guy in my head, you know? So in front of my team, I said, okay, guys, here's what just happened. I want you guys to go to your teams. And I talked to my supervisors over my flood, my water techs, and my fire guys, or mold and fire guys. I said, this week, tell your teams, find something every day to do as a random act of kindness. If you're driving my van, if you're wearing my uniform, I don't care if it's holding the door for somebody and saying, hey, good morning, right? If it's waving to somebody at a stop sign, let them go first like those guys just did to me, right? Do a random act of kindness. That was building the culture, right? And next week, come back and report something that your teams did. And they did. It was nice. We did that for about a month. Well, it was the next month that I got looking at, and I'm driving into that meeting. I was driving to the office. I was going to have that meeting in the morning. I said, okay, I like this random act of kindness, but you know what? I'm going to do something different. So I printed up my little outline for the meeting, and I put RAS. And this was a changer in our business. I didn't tell anybody in the meeting what it was, so after the random acts of kindness, one says, okay, what's a RAS? I said, well, I'm not going to razz you, but what a RAS is a random act of savings. Okay? You guys have been great on these random acts of kindness, and I've been seeing us doing some good stuff, but right now, I think we're bleeding in some areas that we don't need to be. And I can come in, because I know how to do stuff, I know what to do, I can come in and I can manage that with my thumb on top of everybody and say, hey, we're going to cut costs here, we're going to cut costs here, we're going to cut costs here. We're not quite to that point yet, but I don't want to get there. So this week, have them still do a random act of kindness, but I want you to come back, and every one of your teams has to come back with 2 random acts of savings that your techs, your employees, found while doing their job. Something they could do a little bit better. I don't care how much money it is. Okay? And please don't come back saying, buy us brand new vans because they get better fuel efficiency. No, that's not what I'm looking for, right? I'm looking for some actual cost-cutting factors. So the next week, sitting down at my conference table for the meeting, and there's a stack of Tupperware sitting right in the middle. These little Tupperware dishes just sitting out in the middle of the table. I thought, well, this is cute. Okay, I'm just going to wait until Glenn, because Glenn had put them there. He was over our mold teams that did mold remediation. So we get around to that, and I said, okay, Glenn, you got me dying here. You got this Tupperware dish. I think I made a mistake. He says, what do you mean? He says, I didn't define. I wanted to save money for the company. I'm being a little bit selfish here, but he's like, well, what do you think it's for? I said, they're going to bring their lunches to work instead of going out? I was kind of thinking, I didn't define this well, but that's cute, that's good. Maybe they'll save me time not going back and forth from Burger King or something. He said, well, open it up. I open up one, and there's staples in it, a box of staples. Oh, I think you were going to say, open up those ones. Open up another one, and it had a roll of tape in it. Now this tape is $20 tape. It's containment tape, used for putting plastic up over doorways and other things like that when you're doing mold remediation, dust containment barriers. $20 a roll, wholesale cost. And I got where he was going. I said, okay, explain to us. How's this going to save? What is this doing? He says, well, I asked the guys, and they all came back, and they said that we waste a lot of money because at the end of the day, we've had a flood, we have rolled up wet pad, bags of trash, we have drywall, we have all sorts of other stuff we've thrown into our van. And honestly, when it's dark and it's cold out, everything gets mixed up in there and it gets thrown away. And if it doesn't, the cardboard boxes of staples get all broken up and wet. So we go through a ton of those. And tape, once it gets mangled, you can't get that stuff apart, so we just grab another roll. All right, how much is that going to save? $200. Now, would $200 make or break your company? No. That's pretty smart, right? But it was interesting because I had a couple chuckles from the other department supervisors. They said, $200, woo, man, we're really doing good, right? You know, and it's like, just a minute, guys, let's talk about that. What does that actually represent? And you're going right in the right area there. Yeah, it depends on how many trucks, right? It's a mindset, and this is where this leverage, okay, this new inflection point with us came, and Araz became part of our business. What is this per year? Times 12, right? It's 2,400. Wow. I guess math don't count. Math don't count. How about that? All right, so $2,400 a year. Who would like to have an extra $2,400 a year per truck, right? Or even if that was total for the company, who would like to have an extra $2,400 right now that I could hand you? Hey, we saved you that because they didn't throw away tape this year. Anybody like to see that?
Sure.
Well, it's a nice factor. Now here's the part that blew their mind, and it blew my mind, and this is what changed the way we look at things. What does that $2,400 actually represent? If my average job was $3,000, does that mean I'm doing one free job a year almost? No. Because how much is left at the end of the day? If I had a $3,000 flood job, how much am I paying my techs? How much am I paying my franchisor? Ouch, 12% off the top, whether I make money or not.
2,400 could be your profit.
You start looking at all those things, and really, where does it get paid for? From your bottom line. That drops right to your bottom line, right? So bottom line dollars in your business, we got thinking, I said, let's be honest here, and I'm going to be conservative here, because at that time, I was heading in a bad spot. It was a bad season, whatever was the case. If I had 5% of the dollars coming in every month that was left there at the end of the month, just to stay in the company, right? A true 5% net, I probably would have been happy right then. So 2,400 is 5% of what number? The multiplier would be 20. So I did $48,000 worth of work in a year to have the net profit left over so my guys could throw away tape and staples. That's a lot of jobs. That's a lot of liability. Have any of you had a year that was a record year but you made less money? Last year. It happens, man. We grow and the expenses are there and everything else, and it's like, wow, at the end of the year I actually had less. I didn't have more.
Well, if they get in that mind frame, it's not just tape, it's not just staple, it's plastic, it's, you know,
Everything.
many other things that
It's everything.
they're all,
Right.
if they're thinking about everything that we can waste, because
It's
how many of us
huge.
walk on jobs and see crimp rings on the ground, or, you know, a fitting here? I mean, I've yelled at my guys recently, or had discussions with them,
Discussions with your guys?
going to job sites and walking in and finding.
We know you yell.
You're
You
right,
yelled.
Chris.
Okay. So
I mean, I got, you know, $500 worth of fittings sitting there in a building that's gonna get thrown in a dumpster because they
right.
didn't.
That you're going to rebuy for the next job that they're going to leave half of on the floor, right?
Right. Yeah.
Waste was huge. And that's not the only place of savings. But by doing this on a cadence where those supervisors went to their employees and the employees came up with these ideas, it was magic what happened. They started making cuts I never would have made as the owner. I may have thought of them, but it's those days like, you know, I still have this culture thing. I don't want to have them thinking that I'm just like this on top of them all the time, right? Here's your one piece of coal, right? For the heater, right? So, but what happened is over about a 6 to 8 month period, we took our business from that particular franchise, okay, in Hesperia, California. We took it from a nut to crack every month, just to break even, of about 156,000. If I didn't have that coming in the door, I was losing money and I was taking it out of my own pocket, right? A year later, we were down to about 62,000. I could actually survive on $62,000 worth of work. Does that make a healthier business? The more gap you can have between what you're doing and what your break-even point is, the more money you have, right? The better things you can do. Better tools you can afford, the more you can pay, right? There's a lot of other things you'd rather spend that on than throwing away stuff, right? And my employees came up with some incredible ideas. One of them, they came back, they said, okay, we know you didn't want to hire people or other stuff with this, but here's what my team said, and I think you ought to listen to it, Troy. I said, okay, tell me. At the end of the night, they come in, they're tired, they're cold, they're wet, they've handled a flood at 2 in the morning, right? You know, and their van's full of stuff. We got 4 guys that have been out on this thing. We had 2 vans out there. And what actually happens, I said, I'll tell you what happens. 3 of the guys sit down on the couch and watch one guy slowly cleaning out that van. Or you guys leave it till the next morning and I have a big mess underneath that van because all the pads dripped out and everything else. And it takes you 2 hours to get out to the job. And then you got to go fill up your tank. It's like, yeah, what we want you to do is hire somebody that works nights. Okay. And that person cleans out the van, stocks them for the next day so that everything's there. And we're not doing so many trips to Home Depot or back to the shop, right? You know, anybody ever have that problem? Windshield time? Fills up the tanks with gas, so in the morning, when the guys get here, they're on the job site 15, 20 minutes later. It'll pay for itself. You're not paying overtime for that, and the guys get to go back home quicker. I like it. So during the winters, I did that. During the summers, no. We had seasonality too. Frozen pipes don't happen in the summer, right? But that saved me a lot of money. Some of those things is what brought our nut to crack down to $62,000. Now during that time, we actually grew the business. It did a lot more money, but it just meant that we had that much more in reserves. We had that much more better in it. But it was change in mindset. I forget who just said that. I think it was you. Change in mindset. It changed my employees' mindset of what we were doing, and they had some pride in it. They loved it. They also enjoyed the barbecue that we put on for them or the other things that we do, right? A few other perks because the business was doing really well and they were being smart about what they did. I was able to reward some of them, but the real reward, it came to me, right? So these are some of the areas, you know, that we're running low on time here, but basically the RAS became a big difference in my business. In your business, as you get thinking about your finances, where do you sit on this chart? Are you just cruising along because business is good? Could that change? What would happen? When's the best time to make those changes? Right now. When's the best time to plant a tree, a shade tree? 20 years ago, right? Well, you can't do that. You can plant today though, right? So start looking at your business. My hope today, just for these things, that we've sparked some ideas. I think I've kept everybody awake for the most part. Sorry I didn't bring a PowerPoint slide to click through for 2.5 hours. But basically, my hope, though, is that you guys have come away with this a little bit different feeling, a little bit different understanding or vantage point of your business. We have just a couple more minutes. Is there anything that anybody has taken from today's meeting, discussions out in the hallway, yesterday's discussions on the golf courses, on side-by-sides? When you come away from these conferences, if you have 1 or 2 good ideas, it usually makes it worthwhile. Has anybody gathered anything so far from this conference that's going to help them think a little bit different in their business? How about you, Gary? Do you have anything that's...
I think, which I try to do, but to make sure my guys are appreciated.
Okay.
And because if our guys aren't happy, they're going to go find someplace else to work. And I try to know my guys, their families, know about them. You know,
That's good.
That they are part of my family, and I wouldn't be able to do what I do without them. So be more personal.
Great. Anybody from the back of the room? Any ideas? Yes.
So, you know, I take a look at a lot of your ideas and they're incredible, you know, and it's something that, you know, you get so busy with the day-to-day things that it's really good to sit back and take a look at the processes, take a look at how things, your culture, how things are running. And I have to say, we have made some incredible changes in our business in just the past few years. Some of you may be aware that I had a good partner, that's Clay Thornton, and now I have an extraordinary partner, and that's my wife, Ellen. She was a Thornton, but I broke and fixed that.
All right. I like that.
And because of her, you know, I've been in this business, doing this since 1984, and so I had this path, and she came in and has redirected us and used a lot of these principles we talked about. And you know, she came from outside of industry and has changed our culture incredibly. And I'm so grateful for that because you know, she is I'll call her the 3.5 generation of the company. We started in 1930, her grandfather started the business in 1933.
Wow.
And so, but even still, there's pieces here that, like this random acts of savings and we're actually, our focus this month is kindness.
There you go.
So it's right along there, we've got some great people. We actually purchased another business. I don't know if you're aware, we purchased Teeny Plumbing and Heating. We actually utilized some of their strategies to improve ours. And,
Wonderful.
So, this is just a great opportunity to look back and pick up a few more good ideas and just really grateful for really what my wife's done and our whole team, because we try to treat them like family.
Yep.
So that they'll treat our customers like family and everything will do well. So
Love it.
It's been a great retrospect looking at what's happened. So thank you for giving us the opportunity to do that. And thank you, Ellen, for making our business so much greater than it.
Let's give Ellen an applause. When we get back to our businesses, give your Ellens an applause. Give your Allens, your Barbs, your Chips. Give your spouses. Give your kids. Give your business partners. Give your referral partners a call. Thank them, like was just mentioned. Thank them for working with you and how much you appreciate that relationship. Grow that business. Have fun with it. This is always interesting doing this in a big group. I'm usually in a room. We have these collaboration rooms in our offices that have 3 walls that are whiteboard painted. So I usually have walls just filled with stuff, right? Because if you can get it out of your head and on a wall, it's interesting when you look at that. And you mentioned getting outside of your business a little bit, looking at it instead of from in it, right? Is a major difference. Hopefully we're able to give a little flavor of that. We do a lot of this with our clients. I hope, again, this isn't a commercial for us here. This is just some training we did today. But the commercial for us is going to be across the street here, or across the walkway at the Expo Center today. Please come and talk with us. We'd love to talk to you. I'd love to learn a little bit more about your business and just kind of see where you're at and what you're doing. And if there's a good interest, great. We can go a little bit further in those things too. But but still, I'd just love to get to know you. And also, reach out to me on LinkedIn. If you put a RAS in place in your business and you see a success, send it to me. Let me know what it looks like. I love seeing those successes from our customers. Love seeing the growth that can come from different things. If there's something you got from today, I hope it was worth your time. Thank you very much.